Mr. Chairman, it is 6:01 p.m. and we are live.
There we go. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to our every 3 or 4 months monthly meeting of the Lake Worth Planning and Zoning Board. Want to start off by asking who hasn't done the pledge in a while? Anybody remember the words? There we go.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
Liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And thank you, everybody that showed up here tonight. We've got an interesting meeting tonight. We have a printed list of things that we're going to be going over here, and we will kick things off by I'm waiting for my other computer to warm up.
Mr. Chairman, I can do the roll call in the meantime.
Go ahead.
Greg Rice,
Yes, please.
Anthony Murata,
Here.
Mark Hum,
Here.
Laura Starr, Ed LeBlanc,
Here.
Zage, Shamsi Basha,
Here.
Juan Cotton. You have a quorum.
We do have a quorum. Thank you. Thank you all for attending the meeting this evening. I'm pulling up my agenda right now. Hold on.
Mr. Chairman, we're at approval of the minutes while you pull up your agenda.
Go ahead.
The subject minutes for approval are the January 9th, 2022 meeting, 19th meeting minutes.
Did anybody have a chance to read those over, peruse them for errors or things we left off?
They were brief and accurate. I move to approve them. Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Once again, the ayes have it. Okay. Hold on. I'm waiting here. Come on.
Well, we're at swearing in of staff and applicants.
Please do that. This is the audience participation part of the meeting. If anybody will be speaking, this evening in any shape, fashion, or form, please stand up, raise your hand, and we will swear you in.
Public testimony or speak this evening at the podium, please stand up and you will be sworn in. It's a quasi-judicial. If you're planning to speak at all. So you can't speak unless you're sworn in. So this is okay.
Just to make a note of it, board member Juan Cotton arrived 6:04 p.m.
Thank you, Juan.
You plan to speak, do you swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Traffic a little heavy out there, huh, Juan? It's raining like crazy a little north of here. Severe weather warnings and all that. So glad you're here and glad everybody's safe. Let's see here. I'm still waiting for the damn thing to load for me.
We're at proof of publication, Greg. So
Proof of publication. I saw it in the package. I know it was there. Anybody else see it? We will accept and file that. Thank you very much. Next on the list, hold on here.
Mr. Chairman, there are no additional items up through new business, where we can proceed with new business, item A, if you're ready.
Do we want to, would we prefer to switch and do the dry dock?
Well, the dry dock is first,
Oh, they
Mr.
are
Chairman.
first,
So, so I'm gonna
Okay.
go ahead and,
Thank you.
and then as discussed, Anthony is gonna take over the chairman,
I will-
for
I will-
this particular item.
I will pass the
Um,
gavel to Anthony, if you will, sir.
So as Aaron is going up for presentation, if I might, because these are quasi judicial proceedings tonight, and we did kind of skip over the board disclosures part of the agenda, I just wanted to go through and remind you all that quasi judicial hearings must be fair in 3 respects: form, substance, and appearance. So all board members must disclose for these hearings if they have or reasonably believe to have demonstrated bias or prejudice for or against any party in the proceedings, a direct or indirect monetary interest in the outcome of the hearings, including any campaign contributions. Don't think it applies to any of you, but the rest of it would. A prejudgment of the issues prior to the hearing of the facts on the record, or any ex parte communications or personal investigations. So if you all, we can make those disclosures hearing by hearing, or you can make them all at once. If you have none. for
Let's
any.
do them item by item.
Yeah.
So, so I'll go ahead and read, Mr. Chairman, could you read the item? And, Anthony?
All right, item A, PZB project number 21-014-00033. A major site plan amendment to provide additional paving, landscaping, and drainage to support a boat and recreational vehicle storage facility on the property located at 1778 7th Avenue North within the Industrial Park of Commerce zoning district.
I think, as the attorney stated, it's time for disclosure. So if you have anything to disclose, if you would.
Do the board members have any ex parte communications to disclose? Nothing. None from
So
Nothing from,
I'm very pleased to announce this evening that I will not be doing all of the presentations. Instead, Scott's going to be doing 3 of the 4. So if you want to go ahead, Scott. Scott Rodriguez is our new principal planner with the city. He and I worked previously together at Palm Beach County many years ago, probably 15, 16 years ago now. And yes, I am that old. You're correct. I don't look it. Yes, thank you. So Scott's going to be leading the charge today. So if you guys could give him a big welcome. So
welcome, sir.
For the record, Scott Rodriguez with the Planning and Zoning Division. As discussed, the item before you is dry dock project. It is a request for major site plan request for the paving, landscaping, and drainage to support an outdoor storage facility for boats and recreational vehicles on site. So the site is located north of 7th Avenue North, west of I-95, south of 10th Avenue, and is within the Industrial Park of Commerce zoning district. This is the proposed site plan for the project with additional site improvements. The landscape plan will propose adequate perimeter and right-of-way landscaping. Vegetation will provide screening from project is consistent with comprehensive plan, strategic plan, and city's LDRs as conditioned, and therefore staff is recommending approval with conditions. That concludes my presentation.
So we can go through the conditions if you'd like, if you have any questions. We can pull up any part of the plan or the application if you'd like, but otherwise, we'd like to turn this over to the applicant at this time to go through their portion of their presentation.
Good evening. My name is Bradley Miller with Urban Design Studio at 610 Clematis Street in West Palm Beach, and here representing the applicant for dry docks, boat and storage. So really up close and personal.
Someone move that podium super close.
You can pull it back.
Yeah.
Photo.
Position.
You want it back?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. So, thank you, Scott, for the introduction here.
Is it not working?
And I think staff sets this up that it works for them, but not for us. There we go.
I'm sorry.
So this is a site that's in the Industrial Park of Commerce off of 7th Avenue. To the right-hand side, to the east is I-95. So you can actually get a little peek of this property, although there's a pretty good vegetation growth along the ingress lane out to I-95. South of 10th Avenue, just on the east side of the railroad track. So it's really surrounded here by roadways or railroad tracks in the Park of Commerce. About 2.5 acres, a little over. This is an interesting application. The owners who are here tonight, they actually have a business license for the RV and boat storage that we're introducing to you tonight. So then you say, well, so why are you here? And there's been some code changes since they got the license. They've been keeping the license active, so it's a legal non-conforming use. But what the city has asked them to do is to come forward and improve the property. It's primarily putting a hard surface on the property. Part of it now, it used to be a concrete plant, so part of the property has some old concrete in it, some of it doesn't. This will make it a uniform parking surface for boats and RVs on the property. There's an existing office building that's located in the middle of the site. And then in the very northeast corner of the property, there's a Quonset hut that's used for storage and will continue to be used for storage. We've got 93 parking spaces. And actually, to go on this, the two exhibits there, the one on the right, which is too small to read, is the site plan itself. And then on the site plan, we have the pervious and impervious exhibit that's on the left-hand side of the slide. The darker area is actually going to be part of the parking surface that'll be done in pervious material. And so we use that to comply with the 65%, 35% thresholds between pervious and impervious property. So to read it a little easier, the colored plan actually shows up a little better. You can see the small building in the middle for office, the circulation pattern. There's 93 spaces there for boats and RVs that vary in size. The largest will be 45 feet in depth for the boats, which is the largest RV that you can have. There's not many of those spaces, and then the ones in the middle actually could double up for that, or they could be 2 spaces nose to nose for RVs and boats. We've read the staff report. Staff did a great job. There's one condition that we wanted to talk to you about, which is this utilities condition 1A that pertains to the queuing distance off of the road for stacking. Several years ago, the owners came in and put in a fence, which you can see there, and a gate at the bottom left-hand corner. Not just chain link fence, but a very involved rail fence with electronics and that allow the gate to slide open. And in doing so, through the permitting process, the city, they initially proposed it on the property line. The city said, no, you need to move it all back 20 feet. So now what this condition is doing is saying, now you got to push the gate, not the entire fence, but the gate portion in another 25 feet to accommodate these larger vehicles. We're asking that be deleted for the purpose of it's about a $20,000 price tag to move that gate. They They have gone to the gate contractor and have gotten those estimates. And then the bottom right-hand corner, which is, might be a little difficult to see there as well, are the turning movements. On a daily basis, there's 35 trips, which that's based on traffic rates. I think it's high from reality standpoint. So that's not even a trip and a half per hour per day. Peak hour, the maximum peak hour of trips coming there are 2 vehicles. So for the 10 seconds for that gate to open up and go in, and the fact that this part of 7th Avenue, there's actually 5 property owners to the south, and this one being 6th that are on the east side of the railroad tracks. It's their only way in and out on 7th Avenue. I think the traffic conditions there are so low that having that as moving it from 45 feet in to 20 feet in, we're asking that be allowed and this condition be deleted. The other portion of the site there in the green, we did see that from our plan, that those spaces were actually longer than the 45 feet. So at time of permitting, we'll make that adjustment. It just adds more pervious area to the site. These are more larger photographs of the fence, and you can see the electronic system that's associated with it on the screen. Landscape plan, we've got landscaping around the entire perimeter, 10-foot landscape buffer all the way around, and actually more than that on the front along 7th Avenue for screening, as well as that gate has the canvas material built within the gate for screening purposes. So with that, I will close my presentation, and again, I'll emphasize it's a use that we already had the license to do. What this is going to allow them to continue with is to improve the property, the surface that the code says today, and the landscaping. And we request your approval tonight, and hopefully you'll consider deleting condition and utilities. I'm here for any questions. Thank you. There is, I don't have it in the presentation, but it's part of the package. It's a civil plan.
Yes.
Right. You're correct. It's a combination up in the
I can pull
very
up the
northern
plans.
part of the property. There's retention, and there's a retention area there, as well as in the southwest. And plus, we'll have exfiltration trench under the pavement as part of it. And then again, part of the pavement is going to be a pervious material that you get a 50% credit on. They're improving on it. They're improving on it.
So I mean, so at the same time, there's filtration trench. Do you know how long? That's also pretty complicated.
We can pull up the civil plans if you like.
You know, off the top. If it's going to get approved somehow, we'll be trying to sure the engineers can work with it. I was just thinking, because of the cost, when you talk about it, you're putting in $150,000 worth of trenching. That's pretty significant. Then, so we get it for all of
There's definitely cost to doing this, for sure. It's down to the account scenario, and there's a little bit of the part of, look, we permitted the fence, and we were bringing larger trucks into the property to begin with. So we were told to put it 20 feet back. Now it's a little bit of a change of circumstances that if they had known that before, they would have put it at that distance.
just to clarify, the fence, so the fence is already installed now. And it was installed per the condition, so at the time it was installed, it was basically, it was in compliance.
Yes.
Approved.
Right.
So the fence came in just as a fence and it met the minimum stacking distance required in the code. The code also says that the minimum queuing distance may be increased in the event the city engineer determines traffic safety so requires. Such an increase shall be based on gate queuing analysis performed by certified traffic consultant provided by the applicant. So the engineer looked at it and made the determination that the 45 would be a reasonable amount based on the size of vehicles going in to have the vehicle completely come off the property. You know, there was not an alternate gate queuing analysis provided. So the engineer's determination would stand, basically.
The other reason too, is the reason for the cost. You significantly reduce the property by 50% now. So that would trigger everything to come into that. That's what I'm saying, all these things are coming into play, because you want to change the price.
Understood. I think we probably would have provided a queuing analysis if we had known about the condition before getting the staff report and seeing that as a condition. I may be wrong in that it didn't come up through the review, but I am not remembering it through the review. So it's a time thing.
So, Mr. Chair, I just want to interrupt a little bit here. We have gotten a little bit out of sequence because I know this is our typical process when we ask the applicant questions right after their presentation, but there is an affected party for this hearing. So I'd like to have them come up and do their presentation, and then we can offer both parties the opportunity to cross-examine and answer questions.
All right, so the affected party may now make the presentation. Please state your name and your address, please.
And my address, the business is 1777 7th Avenue North. Thank you for the opportunity. This is a commercial area that heavy constant flow and traffic. When the recreational vehicles back up, that I witnessed it, now that they are showing what is the proposal for the fence, the fence that they put without no recreational vehicles going to the property is no problem. The problem is when the recreational vehicle try to go to the property, because the back of the recreational vehicle is stuck outside and stop the traffic. When you stop the traffic, unfortunately, the same that Palm Beach County growing, the business in that area grows, the traffic grows. It's not like light traffic, now it's a heavy traffic. The 45 feet, I didn't know about that 45 feet that the city is asking. To me, the 45 feet must be required. If they put 45 feet, maybe try to avoid the problem that is causing now. With the recreational vehicle backup, one of those tried to touch our property, and one time they damaged one bit of the property. The court that is in the area is a very narrow, and due to the heavy traffic, they are damaging that public property. The traffic trucks that is passing to that area are heavy trucks. The only light truck cars are the ones that go to the shooting. But that traffic, that area is very heavy of traffic. When the recreational vehicles now coming, I don't know, they don't know what to do. They come in, stop, is no past like 20 seconds, they stop, they go into the property, wait, and wait, push the button, and when they do that, the traffic gets stuck. Now we are doing, stacking with the traffic, the whole, commerce of business in that area get affected because the traffic flow is not normal, it is stuck. We have to wait for the railroad tracks, we have to wait for the recreational property, and besides that, my property doesn't have no fence. When the traffic is stopped, then people start to use my property as a chart way, and is damaging my property. And everything because of the traffic flow that is creating the new business. We are in a process to put a fence because of the interruption of the flow of the traffic that are causing damage of our property, and I'm worried about the destroy the one that we try to apply to put. This project will be affect the natural flow of the commerce and business. It will be an obstruction of flow of the commerce. When the recreational vehicle are turned into the gate, the back stick out and in one occasion damage our property. The area is lack of caution signs, traffic signal, speed limited, and any of directional information that the new project will create more congestion affecting the commerce or business. The area has a lot of pedestrians now. There are people walking and in the bike. And when the flow of the traffic is getting heavier, and I'm putting the fence in my property, that will create problems for the safety of the people that walk and use their bicycles. One of the problems that we have is we have only one drainage, and the drainage is full of garbage. And the project said drainage, I don't know what the drainage will affect that part of the area. And my problem with this project is the heavy traffic that can be in the area. The second one, I don't know if the city, FDOT, or all together, the lack of care, that there is no signals, there is no information to the people that is coming, that there is a very narrow area, there is a safety problem. And now that the new business that they have, now I'm seeing it, and I spoke with the lady. I don't know if because the city always are worried about the aesthetic of the place, but I recommended that the city worry too about the safety of the place. The manicure job, landscaping is good, but safety is number one too. Because the place, I don't know, it's lack of light or has too much light. I don't know what is the problem. I'm seeing now that they are selling drugs in that place. Not in that place, they use the car of the entrance, park the car, do dealing with the business, and done. I already called one time the police, never show up. And I tell the owner of the property that check in the cameras, because we have to try to avoid those things. And my worry is that bringing more people that doesn't belong to that area will produce a safety environment for that commerce place.
So I think that's about your 10 minutes. So thank you.
Thank you.
And,
All right, so next is going to be, does any member of the public wish to speak? Seeing none. Okay. Let's go back to city staff. Do we have a cross-examination?
No, city staff has no question. I mean, we have our recommended conditions of approval and, you know, there's lighting, improved lighting on the site. There's improved landscaping. There's, more formalized drainage. It's basically an open storage area with compacted, shell rock right now on the whole site. And there's not a lot of anything happening really.
I have a question. So RV storage.
Well, they have to follow the proceedings.
Oh,
It's a
sorry.
quasi-judicial.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so with that, we're moving along to the applicant. Does the applicant wish to cross-examination? Affected party, do you wish to cross-examine any of the other parties?
Do you have any questions for the applicant or staff? Do you have any other questions for anybody? You don't have to have any.
Right, we're just giving you the opportunity if you wish
If you
to ask them questions.
No, when you show the plan, we saw what they are proposing and
Thank you.
what was the idea.
Great, all right. Okay, now we're moving along to board members. So you want to kick it off?
Yeah, thank you. So does RV storage entail any long-term residents inside any of the RVs?
No, that's not permitted by the
That's
code.
not permitted,
No,
okay.
and there's no hookups proposed or anything like that
Okay.
that would allow for that. And as the applicant stated, I mean, we didn't even address the use in the staff report because this is a vested non-conforming use. So, and there's no shift in the use area. It's kind of is what it is, and they're just making it better.
I have one follow-up question. So I'm looking at the setbacks. Yeah. So the setbacks are way over the maximum. The front setback, the maximum is 32 feet, and this is 209 feet. Is that because they only have that one little building on the place? Okay. And what reason, I just want to ask about the code. What reason does the code,
So-
what's the logic
so-
behind requiring that much of a setback?
So the buildings are as they are, and they actually can't add any use area, and they can't add any new structures associated with the use area because they're non-conforming use. So they can't, basically all they're doing is adding landscaping and improving the pavement and drainage on the site. They can't add new structures, they can't increase the use area, they're kind of vested for what they're vested for. So they're just basically, everything is where it is, it can't change, other than just to maybe put a little lipstick on everything.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Mark? No, I'm good with Ed.
I was just looking for looking through the conditions, and I was, can you help me find the condition where we're talking about the staffing and the distance of the fence?
So,
No, it's
Not where my glasses
It's on page 6 at the top.
Right there.
And I'll go and pull it up on the staff presentation as well, if you just give me a moment. It's under Public Works,
Utilities.
Utilities.
That's the site's longest parking space. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to, I looked through,
Okay.
I read through the conditions and I didn't see that.
Okay.
I want to ask something.
I'm good.
I just want to ask something of the affected party. I think that, do you believe that in some way this business may be able to improve the property in any way? I know this property very well, and I know it's been semi-abandoned for a while. They don't really take much care of it, I think. It's been one of these things that it's just been laying around. They had, I guess, marble and some other things for years there, and then they tried to put up a building at one point, and it didn't work, and they just went through the plan phase. But it's been something that stumbled. The biggest problem that I see here, it's not even the 45 feet. I believe they should have something, some type of a buffer, but that's something else. I know that they've made a mistake putting it where they did. it's costly to change it. But the issue for me is when they have 2 or 3 trucks waiting to come in. And that is an issue. That's a real serious issue. You think about, let's say, people dealing drugs or whatever, that's a community issue that I guess the police has to deal with, and there's rules against those things. But to have a traffic pattern where you have 3 trucks, let's say on a Saturday afternoon, and people take them out of the water and they bring them back, their boats and things, that sort of, has that been addressed at all in the traffic study?
So not that, the reason why the engineer did the required the 45 feet is because it's to allow the time for the gate to open.
Right.
So once the gate is open, then the trucks, you're not having it close right after every truck. No, it stays open, right? It just is open and all the cars can go through. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, so that was our understanding, is that if they could get one in, then they could wait for it to open. And then once it's open, then whatever else can go through. We really don't have provisions for greater stacking distances other than really one vehicle, because overall our city is an urban environment, and suburban type stacking distances of, 1.5 to 2 cars are just not accounted for in our code.
But I do, what I'm saying is I do feel for and I understand the fact that there might be 3 of these trucks with boats or RVs in a row, and that could jam up the traffic at some point or another. And I see that as the biggest issue. I mean, the other issue is, yes, I mean, if I would believe that the city engineer is going to fix the drainage issue, right? That's going to be engineered, and I think that should be a sound solution within their proposal. But, unfortunately, it would have to be, I don't know how to solve something that 3 or 4 trucks coming in at the same time. I mean, I've been stuck behind some of those things sometimes, but it looks to me that they're fixing the landscape and the front of the property to make it much nicer. And I think that's a big plus for the area, and also a big buffer for everything as well. So, yes.
And unfortunately, the business that you will
Can you
not
go to
tell,
the microphone, please? Sorry.
unfortunately, with that business, you could not tell the driver, follow the rules, because unfortunately, people don't follow rules. If you tell a person, you have to wait, don't cross, no, the person is in a hurry, they cross, they don't let the flow, the regular flow of the traffic. That is a big problem. And I don't think the owner can do something about it. It's the clients. You can tell the client in the contract, whatever, but the client obey that is a big problem. The aesthetically good landscape, beautiful, everything. But what about the traffic? What about the safety? And another thing that I'm seeing now, because they move a little bit the fence, people are using the place for make a U-turn. Oh, I made a mistake, I'm not going that way, make a U-turn, make a U-turn. When they try to make a U-turn, get stuck between the 2 buildings. And the trucks in the back and the trucks in the railroad. And I'm becoming the police truck.
Well, I would think that Palm Beach County or FDOT probably has to get involved at some point. It's a big.
I called DOT. I called the city, and nobody gave me answer. Who can help to fix that problem, put signals, all of those things, because I didn't know we will have the opportunity to talk. I already called city, DOT, all of those, and one sent me to the other one, and nobody resolved.
Thank you.
Understand.
Want any other questions?
No, I think it would be nice to go through, I'd like to just go through some of the conditions. How many conditions are there? 6.
There are a few.
The A, B, and C?
So there's this planning and zoning, this is public works, this is public works, this is utilities. So there's a lot of these are standard things that are actually codified. So they're asking for some additional information at building permit and some additional, like, these are typical things that utilities ask for.
Because the principal thing, and this is where I'm coming from, if it's traffic, is there anything in there that would help the affected party of it with some of the traffic?
Well, I want to point out for my part, I think condition 1A that the applicant has to be waived is the one then to address that. If I misunderstood that, is that not the point of that condition? The longest vehicle is now off the road,
Right.
alleviating what we've been discussing.
Yeah,
No,
so that'll
that's
at
it.
least take
Condition
one
1A.
full
Condition
vehicle.
1A fixes what the biggest problem brought up was.
And so we can pull that up. So that was the main one, why that one was added. And the problem with us, we didn't really do a full analysis. I mean, we wanted the traffic and we want them to have the TPS letter because they're doing the pavement, but for the city's perspective, the use is vested. So there's no change in use. So there's no requirement technically under our code to review traffic. It's just really paving and landscaping. It's not an increase in the use area. It's not an increase in the building area. You know, because they are making those improvements, they are required to have the TPS letter by Palm Beach County, but beyond that, they're a vested use. So it really is, and your purview is, does the site plan make the business operation better? And does the site plan reduce the nonconformities of the site or the code, or bring the property fully into compliance? That's kind of the scope.
Thank you. Don't want to forget about Greg. Greg, are you still there?
Yes, I am, Anthony.
All
Could I ask-
any questions?
I'd like to ask the party that's questioning this, what type of business does she have?
Ms. Rodriguez, can you come back up to the microphone, if you would, please? So, there's a question being asked of you. What type of business do you
Yeah,
operate?
what type of business do you operate?
I don't operate any business. I'm the owner of the
Owner of the
owner,
property.
and I use as an office going there myself. I don't
Okay.
have no type of business.
Hear that, Greg?
I heard part of it. What'd she say, Anthony?
She said, doesn't operate a business out of there, uses it as an office.
Okay. I don't know what type of operating system they have on that gate. I do know in the development that I live in, only one car at a time can go through. As soon as that car goes through, that gate comes down. And I also know that there's a lot of times that people will be right behind that car and try to come in on the same dime that the car ahead of them came in on. And that gate gets knocked off all the time. So I don't know if that's an option to have in the system or what have you, but that's something they might want to consider, at least.
Thank you. All right. My turn. I just have one question, which I think you pretty much answered for staff. You summarized it. This is a request made by the city based on its current. They're taking action that the city requested them to take.
Well, no, they're coming forward with the site plan, but they have had a history of code violations on this
Okay.
property. So
But these are
They-
improvements
these are
the
improvements,
city
yes.
requested. Okay.
Yes.
All right, fair enough. For my part, I think everything kind of is around that last condition there. I think the introduction of that condition and these changes is actually going to fix Ms. Rodriguez' problem, the one stated for that area. So that'll be my position. We'll move along to board member comments. Comments?
No, that, what you just said makes perfect sense to me. Yeah. I think that, the condition of the gate being pulled in solves the problem as best as we have authority to, ask them to do that. And, other than that, they seem to be in compliance on everything here, bringing everything into compliance except for, correct me if I'm wrong, the parking spaces for the existing structures, which I wouldn't see as being an issue.
It seems mildly ironic that it is a giant parking lot.
Right.
And they're short two spaces.
It's an outdoor storage area.
Yeah. I see a bunch of stripes. David? All right. Juan, fair enough. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Oh, did you want to? Oh, the affected party, the applicant wanted to have a rebuttal.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the
On down.
quasi-judicial section. Yeah, just a couple of points, and I do think you're grasping the issue. As far as the traffic flow there, again, our traffic counts are very low. It, as another flip side of the project, or another way to look at it, the property could be built out with industrial uses or any other permitted uses within there and have far more traffic than what this is going to do. I'm sorry. Yes, and pollution. I'm having a little bit of a deja vu moment here because if you go south a few miles to Boynton Beach Boulevard, almost in the same identical situation, there's a self-storage or a storage facility there for boats and RVs. It only had one access in over railroad tracks, so similar that I represented in Boynton Beach. And it's, I just spoke to that client about a week ago. They've been in there maybe a year and a half. They're at over 90% occupied. They're just killing. So it's a really good use. And we had a lot of opposition on that as well. And I asked them, I said, if there been any issues with the neighbors with traffic, which was zero. So it's a very quiet use, and Mr. Compton, you're bringing up the points of the stacking of the vehicles, and I think with the triggering of the gate, once it's a beam situation. So once that beam is triggered, the gate's open, that first one goes in, the others follow behind, and I think the queuing out there is less than what it is. It's I'm not sure what Ms. Rodriguez's business is in that spot, but I'm not, what the activity, the level of activity at her location and how it's going to contribute. Ours is going to be a very low. Thank you.
I'm assuming I should allow the second party another opportunity to speak.
Technically, they should be allowed to offer closing argument.
Yeah. On up to the regs.
From my part, I don't have no activity in the place. I stay there and I see what is going on. I don't have business there, but I see the problem with the traffic. He said that he represents a new customer in Boynton Beach, but I don't think in the same circumstances. In the corner of this place, there is a tower, and now, because we grow, the tower is being used more. They put a truck and a trailer. I sent some pictures. I don't know if the pictures show what I'm saying. A sheriff parked there, put the cones and block one road going, and people have to go in and out in one. That is my point. My point is there is a very heavy traffic and has to be a solution for another more traffic coming to the area.
Thank you. Okay, we'll get back to, I'll entertain a motion. Someone would like to make one. They're on that.
All righty. I move to approve with conditions the request of the subject conditional use permit and major site plan based upon the competent and substantial evidence provided in the staff report and the testimony of the public hearing.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. By Mark. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ray? Are you there? Greg? All those against?
I think he's
So,
having some connection
yeah,
issues.
Unanimous, minus Greg. Have no response. still have the quorum.
I'm sorry, Anthony. I voted aye.
Greg, what is your vote?
I vote in favor.
Okay, thank you. Unanimous with Greg. Well done. Thank you. All right, moving along. Greg, would you like me to pass the gavel back to you, or would you like me to continue giving your challenges?
You can go ahead and continue running the meeting if you'd like, sir.
Right. Continue. All right, moving along, PZB project number 21-014-00001. Major site plan and a blanket conditional use request for multiple conditional uses as provided for the LDR section 23.3-6 for the development of a plus minus 75,989 square foot industrial development at 1939 7th Avenue North within the Industrial Park of Commerce zoning district.
Board members, do you have any disclosures for this item?
We'll buy it.
I'll second the letter. All right, thank you. Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record again, Scott Rodriguez with Planning and Zoning. The item before you is a 1939 7th Avenue North major site plan and conditional use permit request for the construction of a 75,989 square foot industrial facility, including additional site improvements to accommodate multiple conditional uses. Subject site is located south of 7th Avenue North, east of Belleville, and west of I-95, and is within the Industrial Park of Commerce zoning district. Along with the major site plan application, the applicant is requesting several high intensity uses to be located in the industrial facility. Proposed site plan and landscape plan shows an industrial facility with additional site improvements, with adequate landscape, perimeter landscaping and right-of-way buffering. Vegetation will provide screening to surrounding properties. Surrounding properties are mixed compatible uses in zoning districts. Project is consistent with the comprehensive plan, strategic plan, LDRs, and conditional use standards, and therefore staff is recommending for the conditions. I want to point out that for Public Works, condition number 5, which would be located on page 8 of the staff report, related to sidewalks, will be deleted. That concludes my presentation.
And Scott, I'm just gonna go ahead and change it to, I wanted to go through just touch on the use conditions real quick to add, and no outdoor uses or outdoor storage, wholesale and online only for the blanket conditional use. And then what I wanted to point out as well is that so the idea of this is that this is a multi-tenant building and that tenants come and go, not to have one tenant take over the building, and have the blanket conditional use is intended to support tenants moving in and out, not to have one tenant take over the whole space. So just so you're aware, there's a conditional approval proposed that if there's a tenant that exceeds 25,000 square foot of use, an AUP will be required. And then in addition to the blanket conditional use, and then if a tenant exceeds 50,000 square feet of use area, then a new CUP will be required for that specific tenant. So this is intended to operate for a multi-tenant in and out for the total use area of approximately 75,000 square feet of warehouse and industrial uses.
All right. The applicant would like to come up and presentation.
It's me again. Bradley Miller for the record, Urban Design Studio, 610 Clematis in West Palm Beach, and here representing the applicant. Another site in the Park of Commerce. I'm feeling like I got my thumbprint there. I did the Interstate Business Park and and as well as car garage facilities, so it's nice to see that park moving along.
Bradley, you want to see if it works? Let's hope it works. Is it going? There, okay. Oh, that's me. Why is that? No, I thought I opened your, I'm so sorry. I apologize. Okay, wrong one. It's been a long day.
We're out of practice.
We are out of practice. We have not had a meeting since December, right?
Yep.
January? Did we have one in January?
Yeah, maybe one.
Oh, yeah. It's been a long day. That's my story. All right. Let me just, there we go. Try that, Bradley. No, towards, is it going? What's this do? Accept
That'd be like a magic touch.
auto request. All right, try that. Will it do? No? All right, I'm just gonna do it for you. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
So this property, another one that fronts onto 7th Avenue in the Park of Commerce on the south side. It's about 5.5 acres. For a long period of time, there was a radio cell tower, or a radio tower, not cell tower. Radio tower and a little building there where they broadcast from at one point in time. The tower's down, the building is down. It's the property's completely undeveloped and vacant. What we're proposing is a warehouse building that's a little over around 77,000 square feet, 76,000 square feet. I'm sorry. It's always hard to see the in the black and white plans the building, but it's a circular circulation with the vehicle parking to the normal parking spaces on the east side of the building in the middle, and then the loading docks on the west side of the building. On the very south end is dry detention area, and then as you continue around, there's mentioned a loading dock upon that with driveways, 2 driveways onto 7th Avenue. The application has a major site plan component to it. As we were working through it, we had proposed a request to increase the amount of impervious surface, and staff came back and asked that they're not going to be able to support that. So the areas that's in blue there are the parking spaces, and then the very southern end of the building, there's a travel lane. Those areas, if we provide that in a pervious surface, and then there's the green area right in the middle on the eastern side, we have more parking spaces than what were required, so we can eliminate those spaces. We still have the minimum required parking. In fact, I think we end up with 1 or 2 above, but that gets us to, again, the 65% impervious, 35% pervious area. On the left-hand side is the full list of conditional uses that we had proposed on our plan, and then we redlined through the ones that staff has come back and said, look, if those uses come about, come back and see us, and we're fine with that. So we're fine with the conditions of approval across the board. The colored plan helps considerably to show the building location, the circulation, landscaping around the entire perimeter. This will be again another nice improvement to the overall Park of Commerce. We do have the landscape plan with the detail as part of the package. I think it was right out that we had the 0% in here. These again are just the plans that this one incorporated the civil engineering plan, and this is again another combination of drainage area on the south side and exfiltration within the parking lot that feeds to it. So when it's plugged into the site, this is in graphic form how it'll look. From an architecture standpoint, it's a nice contemporary modern design in palettes of lighter white and gray tones throughout, and then some accent pieces of some navy blue for awnings. This gives you a little better perspective of what the building is planned to look like. So with that, I will conclude there, and we're fine with the staff report, fine with all of the conditions. I think this will be a large building and a nice little addition to the tax base for Beach.
I will add that there was a previous approval for a warehouse building that was done a few years ago. And this is just kind of this is a new ask of a similar request. And this application is just a little tidier and more cleaned up and includes all of the specific uses. It's a nice project.
Thank you. There was some board member questions. Warren, you want to give us off?
I think it's to that whole area, developments like this are a big plus, and the tax base. Visually, they're a lot better than the things that are there at the moment. I think we have a lot of aging old warehouses in that area, which are really badly kept. And I think at this point, some of these would be improvement for it. Not to mention businesses, jobs, and a bunch of other things that come in. And that's that's in a nutshell what it is. If you review all the other uses that they want, I mean, I guess they're typical of these type of places that would house multiple types of uses, right? My only concern would be with a lot of these is that if there is any type of like toxic labs, or if there's any type of recycling type of matter, or different things for different industries, that those would be regulated in the way that, because I've seen some nightmare things with medical labs and things that are like recycling and doing things and waste and whatever. Because there's some problems with that, so whatever. Yeah, but it is an improvement.
Dave, anything for us?
I have a question for staff. So I see that wholesale breweries are allowed, but brewery / distillery -micro is not allowed. Is that just to keep traffic out?
So in the IPOC district, there are certain class of uses that are hybrid commercial industrial uses. And they have additional traffic, they have all kinds of different impacts than traditional industrial uses. You are approving a blanket conditional use, which means tenants can sub out. We are not opposed to a microbrewery, but we want that microbrewery to come in for a conditional use approval for that business because of the nature of those uses. And for consistency with the comprehensive plan, they have to balance more towards an industrial nature of use in this district rather than a commercial one. We have other districts which allow microbreweries, like the artisanal industrial district, which is more of a hybrid commercial industrial district, which is intended for typically more of this type of microbrewery use. It doesn't mean it's off the table forever. It just means as a blanket, you come in and get a business license, because this is what you're saying with this, is you come in and get a business license. If you meet for our business license, we review all the licensing, state licensure requirements. We also require a county wellfield affidavit submitted because this is in a wellfield zone. So that to address some of your issues, that will have to disclose all chemicals. And as in a wellfield zone, they will be inspected by the county for uses with chemicals on site. That's the other reason we also didn't want vehicle repair in there, because vehicle repair can very quickly morph into a commercial business in an industrial area. So that's kind of the thinking on those uses.
Use like beer, but they can't have a restaurant.
and then they want a food truck, and then they want to.
Anthony,
Yes, Greg.
ask the architect or somebody, engineer, what's the ceiling height on this building?
Get that answer for you.
Bradley, come on.
Good question.
Jump on in, Bradley.
We are, I think the maximum height is 30 feet, but the clear space inside is 24.
Did you hear that, Greg?
What is it, 24 or 30?
30 feet on the outside, maximum on the inside is 24.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Right?
One more question for me though, Anthony, I'm sorry.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Is it gonna be tilt wall construction or CBS block? What's the construction proposed?
We're planning for it to be tilt wall.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Dave, are you done? Yeah.
I kind of just wanted to follow up on Zaid's question. And so I guess I'd be asking staff again. But the list that we have in here of the conditional uses, where does that come from? Does that come directly out of our zoning ordinance? Or
Right.
is it something that staff reviewed and interpreted?
These are the lists of the conditional uses as they're listed in our table. We have a table of all uses that are permitted by district and then the level of review. All of these are uses that require additional approval, specifically conditional use approval. So if each business were to come in individually, each business would have to do a full conditional use approval for every single business. So if you had one of each type of those tenants, you'd have to come in for individual conditional uses. So the blanket conditional use, what it does is it allows a property owner to say, especially multi-tenant property owner, to come in and look at the menu, what we have of conditional uses, and anticipate their tenants and say, these are the types of tenants we anticipate or are going to be marketing to. And then that way staff, it's actually reduces burden on the city because it's a lot of processing time for the same property. And a lot of these conditional uses have similar impacts. So a lot of the uses in there will be kind of a similar, IT has a traffic generation. So warehouse and light industrial uses, and a lot of the things have the same ballpark traffic generating rate of traffic generation. They'll have a lot of these same similar impacts. And so it's easier for us to review them as a whole, make sure the site plan comes in and works for this type of use category as a whole, and then say this is what they can do. I over-explained it, I'm sure.
You made it very clear. No, that's it. Thank you.
All right, what do you got?
Why no sidewalks?
By the
You said it's right, the sidewalk.
condition was told about the sidewalks.
That was Public Works indicating that they want to remove that condition.
Actually, if I can add to that, if you read the condition, it talks about the sidewalk along, I think it was 18th Avenue.
Yeah.
It was getting pulled from another report.
Things of the existing
There's an
federal highway.
existing sidewalk that was part of the improvement to 7th. So there's already a sidewalk there.
So it sounds like that was an error, including that. It does refer to federal highway. That's a long sidewalk.
That's a-
Federal highway.
We'll
may
let
have
Public
objected to
Works
that.
know.
All right.
We try to prove everybody's conditions. We're a little busy right now,
That's
so.
okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, any members of the public wish to speak? All right, with that, I will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a comment beforehand. Sorry, I thought we haven't done that yet. Thought we were gonna questions. So I'd like to make a comment on this brewery distinction. I like to follow form over function, And it seems silly to distinguish between a brewery that's wholesale only and a brewery that's gonna have occasionally people visiting it. So I know we're moving towards form over function in most sort of planning schools of thought. So, you know, I think that's a silly distinction, and I don't know if that is a reasonable interpretation. I mean, I'm sure it's a reasonable interpretation of the code, but just from a policy standpoint, I would like for staff to consider following a more form over function approach to interpreting provisions like that. Thanks.
Duly noted, and back to motion, do we have a motion? This will be on page 9.
Okay, I move to approve with conditions the request for the subject conditional use permit. Is that it? Okay. And major site plan based upon the competent substantial evidence provided in the staff report and testimony at the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Greg's grabbed the second. All those in favor? Aye. Any against? Unanimous. Thank you. All right,
We'll see
2 for
now.
2 tonight. All right. All right, what's next? PZB project number 21-005-00009. Consideration of a conditional use permit for a 5,827 square foot ballroom / banquet / meeting room and bar with or without live entertainment, bar, lounge, grill, located at 2141 10th Avenue North. The property is zoned mixed use west. Scott, over to you.
Mr. Chair. Board.
Before you start, Scott, sorry, anybody have disclosures for this item?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Again, for the record, Scott Rodriguez with the Planning and Zoning Division. Item before you is the impact banquet request for consideration of conditional use permit for a almost 6,000 square foot ballroom, banquet, meeting room, and bar with or without live entertainment. Use at 2141 10th Avenue North. I want to point out that the applicant did request possibly the use of a restaurant with bar after we did the staff report. So I'll address that a little bit again later on in the presentation. Staff will propose conditions to address that request.
Not working.
I think my motor went in here.
There you go.
Okay, subject site is located south of 10th Avenue North and is within mixed use west zoning district. You can continue. Thank you. So the project is consistent with the comprehensive plan, strategic plan, and the city's LDRs, and also with the conditional use standards. Therefore, staff is recommending approval with conditions. Staff would incorporate the condition as indicated on the slide. The restaurant with a bar with or without live entertainment may be permitted, and you group a bar with or without live entertainment. The bar component, if the use moves forward with that, bar with or without live entertainment would require a distance waiver to be scheduled with the city commission. However, if a restaurant is proposed via the business license, that provision may be exempt due to the nature of the restaurant with the bar having 50% or greater food sales. Next is my presentation.
Would the applicant like to come up and make a presentation?
Please state your name and address for the record.
Armando Gonzalez,
didn't come as prepared as Mr. Bradley did. This is kind of like all last minute, first time. But the impact group is proposing Banquet Hall / restaurant, part of the plaza. Real European restaurant and banquet hall use, weddings, baby showers, birthday parties.
All right, moving along to board member questions. One, start with you.
You're keeping the same structure, yes. I'm assuming that you're keeping the same structure, just
Yeah, just
renovating
rent the
inside.
property, already rented out properly.
Would it have one use, one owner, and one operation, one business, or is it going to be
Yeah.
divided into separate?
No, sure. I can property owner.
It has a go-kart place next door, and then it has some other restaurants too.
There is a.
To the eastern,
restaurant,
right?
Yeah.
And
In the
across-
same plaza, there's a Latin restaurant.
Across the street, there's other ones.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's pretty much fits in with the rest of it. Questions?
Dave?
I don't have any questions.
What was that? What was on the west? Is that a hotel on the west?
It's a, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
hotel.
there's a hotel.
So basically, you're taking over an existing building.
Well, not the whole building, just
Oh, I see.
small,
Just
Part
part
of
of
the
it.
square part of the bottom.
in the back, the southern part, square, great.
This is a conditional use because of the banquet hall request for special events are usually uses that require heavy or heavy parking users
Yeah.
and can have impacts on adjacent properties. So this property has a significant amount of parking on it. So that is in part why staff is recommending approval because of the parking in the area.
I see. Thanks. That's all I have.
Mark, of course.
Is that a restaurant now? What is?
No, it's just an empty space.
You're gonna be in the restaurant / banquet hall?
Yeah, it's, I guess the more northern part of it is gonna be that small restaurant, kitchen, basically preparing food.
We have conditions of approval as well. Did you want to see them? We limited it, make sure there was no outdoor activity, no excessive noise, as consistent with the LVRs. And there is a landscaping condition to enhance landscaping on the property.
Greg, do you have any questions?
No, Anthony, I don't.
Okay. I just have one, and I apologize, I'm a little fuzzy on that, on the explanation, I missed it, but you said there was another component to it because this was printed prior.
You want me to? Yeah.
Just
Right.
pause
Yeah,
over that
go,
one more
go.
time
Get
so we
Scott
know
some
what's-
experience. Get him out
Initially,
there.
Initially, the request was for a banquet hall with bar.
Okay.
So after the staff report was printed and submitted, sent, had discussion with the applicant on the possibility of a restaurant. So in lieu of the bar, we're just informing the board that it may impact the distance waiver requirement with alcohol. If they go with the bar, they'll have to schedule a meeting with city commission to address that. If they go with the restaurant, via the business license, they would have to show that they would exceed 51% in food sales, and then
Okay,
that provision would be exempt.
all right. But there's not necessarily relevance to what we're approving here. You're just informing us that
yes.
they have another step
That's correct.
afterwards if they choose another
It's
option.
technically a different use, bar versus bar, restaurant with bar.
Yeah.
So rather than having them come back for restaurant with bar after they already have a bar, we're like, they can just be a restaurant with a bar, you know?
Okay, so that's what
Yeah,
we're
it's
looking
like-
at, is restaurant with bar.
Yes, bar, restaurant with bar, and banquet hall. Sorry.
I just wanted to make it clear that your request is to allow all three.
Right. That's what I want to make
as
sure that we
options.
clarify, because when we do our motion,
Right.
we're gonna need to amend that.
Mhm.
So we have.
Have to be.
Ballroom meeting. Yes, Greg?
This building's currently there. It's been there for quite a while, correct? Are they gonna move out all the current tenants, or how are they gonna work this?
They're in the rear they're in the rear building, Greg. I'm
Okay,
gonna pull it up for you. Hold on.
If you look at the building at the bottom, there's a kind of a square on it. That section is
Hold
what it's
on.
involving, and it's currently vacant.
They're in this part right here.
They've already-
the back part, okay, yep, yep, yep.
Was prior vacant to their.
And there's enough parking back there if they have a special event? i.e. wedding or anything like that?
Right, and I think it might be harder for you to hear. Staff had mentioned that one of the reasons why this use has to be reviewed by us is due to its heavy parking requirements, and this site has lots of parking.
Yeah, banquet halls can be really, really impactful. They're actually hugely impactful. This is it seems like a good spot for it if you're gonna have the banquet hall, so.
All right, thank you. Any members of the public wish to speak? All right, seeing there's none. Board member comments before I call for a vote. All right.
Sherry, we didn't get any letters or anything, did we?
No, we have no emails or letters regarding this project.
Thank you.
All right, with that, would someone like to make a motion?
I move to approve PZB project number 210050000009. Staff recommended conditions for conditional use permit request to establish a ballroom, banquet, meeting room, and bar with or without live entertainment is allowed in the.
And a restaurant with a bar, or a restaurant with a bar.
Or a restaurant. Bar. Just trying to read off here, with or without live entertainment, is allowed in the MU-W zoning district at 2141 10th Avenue North, based upon the competent and substantial evidence provided in the staff report and testimony of both.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion before. Do we have a second? I'll second. All right, second by Ed. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All right. And those against? None. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Go first. All right, moving along. PZHP 22-03100001 ordinance 2022-06. Consideration of an ordinance amending chapter 23 land development regulations, article 2, administration division 2 procedures, adding a new section 23.3-20 applicants public neighborhood meeting and outreach, providing for an applicant held public neighborhood meeting and virtual outreach. Yeah.
Sure, I'm gonna go ahead and just give the presentation. Just let me do this. I thought I pulled this over and I did not. I'm gonna pull up the ordinance for you so we can discuss the ordinance. Basically, this came out of a city commission discussion, wanting to formalize and provide certainty for neighborhood outreach, the process for neighborhood outreach for larger projects. So these projects would be plan developments, developments of significant impact, CRA projects, projects that use sustainable bonus. So there, then transfer development rights. So any type of, if a project utilizes an incentive, if a project is a planned development or is greater than 100,000 square feet as a DSI, then it will require this process. And basically what the process is, and Elizabeth has been more key to the writing of this than I have. I've just been kind of a editor bystander in this creation of this LDR. But basically the idea is that it requires a developer to provide a mailing notice within 400 feet of the property to schedule a meeting that they hold and organize. And it's not a staff or a city meeting, it's a developer driven meeting. They are required to take minutes, submit the minutes with the application, and then are also required to provide outreach in the form of maybe social media or a web page or document some type of other thing. But basically the main component of this is the requirement of the meeting for these larger projects. So if you can just give me a second, I'll open that ordinance for you. And if you have any questions, we can walk through the specific language. And we have Elizabeth here, who's was one of the writers of the language based on the City Commission direction. Are there any questions? Hold on, let me make sure I share it.
So the general, if I may. And I do recall discussions around this come out from some of the projects that we've seen. So it's that we're seeing this now. I'm just curious, you know, from you guys, from your experiences. I mean, I know as somebody who lives in a neighborhood, I like this. How do the developers feel about having this added as is common in other cities?
So typically a neighborhood meeting can be a common component of a code, a requirement to have one, and they would need documentation of some kind. I would say that can be a typical requirement in many codes. I would say what's specific is that this is maybe a little more robust in the specificity of how the outreach should occur. I think that the development community appreciates certainty. So I don't know how they'll specifically feel about it, but at least if they'll know what they need to do and what meets the requirements of and so in that sense, it does provide that certainty that developers do appreciate.
I know in communities, even where it's not required, for big developments like this, it's always recommended because it reduces the amount of comments at the hearings and in front of commissions and letters being written in that the developers will hear because they've connected with the community and been able to answer those questions in advance.
And we do currently recommend, for all of our large projects, we recommend this outreach already prior to this requirement. It just kind of provides like a way, a roadmap. And then sometimes you get to a public meeting and somebody says, well, we had a meeting, well, I wasn't notified of the meeting, and how were you notified, and how did you do the outreach? So it kind of, everybody has to do everything exactly the same. So.
As Anthony mentioned, yeah, we've talked about this at several different times over the years. And the only problem is that I can see is it is going to require some more, it has to, staff time. Even though, you know, you guys wouldn't be going over there and watching to make sure it did happen. It's going to have some kind of, I would think, somehow, some way, participation by the city, just to make sure it gets done and it gets done right. Because there's liabilities probably there too, wouldn't there be?
Well, one of the things that we require is we require them to provide minutes of the meeting to be submitted with their application. And those would become an attachment to the record. So, you know, the minutes, if there was an affected party or if there was an objector, they could review the minutes and say that is what happened or is that is not what happened. So they will be required to provide the minutes. You know, staff can participate if they choose to. It's difficult for us to participate frequently in these meetings because we are so understaffed and the volume of our applications that we have right now is absolutely immense. You know, I've been here since 6 o'clock this morning. you know, and I will work more than 8 hours tomorrow too. So, you know, we have a lot. And so going to another neighborhood meeting, and which is why it was written this way, is not to put more burden on staff and to require.
And the meetings would be held out in the community and not at city offices.
And that was my big concern. I just wanted to make sure that you guys understood that too, because it somehow, some way, it's gonna one day come back to you.
Yes, it is required to come back to us as far as the minutes. And
Right.
they also have the provision that, because a lot of people now prefer online participation as opposed to in-person participation, especially working people. So there is a provision that allows for an online meeting, and then there'll be a physical letter, and then an alternate ways to collect. You know, they have to provide a web page and different ways for the residents to reach out to the applicant.
Thank you. Then I have to,
Thanks,
just
Greg.
making sure. It's not like they don't have enough to do.
Right. Any other questions or comments? Board members? Okay. Any board disclosures?
Yes.
Shouldn't be. Greg's got, he lives in it. All right. Entertain a motion. Anybody like to make a motion?
Have we heard from Mark tonight?
We did. Didn't hear a lot from Mark tonight.
Okay, just making sure.
From you, Greg.
Don't want him to get rusty.
I did the pledge.
That's true.
Okay.
Mark did the heavy lifting up front.
Well, you're off the hook then, Mark. You can rest for the rest of the night.
Till May.
So the motion would be to recommend approval of denial of ordinance 2022-06 to the city commission.
Say that again. Denial?
Or approval or denial. I can't tell you
Okay.
your motion.
Okay,
So-
okay. I'm not,
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
sugge-
or
I'm not
to
suggesting
recommend or
it.
not recommend, to recommend or
Right.
not recommend to adopt the proposed
Right.
LDR. So,
I'll second Aaron's motion.
So are you making a so move, Greg?
Yeah, I'll make it so moved. Sorry.
so we're
In the
recommending
affirmative.
approval.
Recommend approval to the, up by the commission.
Thank you. We have a second. Second. By Mark. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? All right. They're unanimous. Okay, moving along. Any planning issues?
No, just to bring your attention to the fact that right now the Gulf Stream is tentatively scheduled for the Hrpb on April 27th. So that's the plan. So we're going to get the public notice out shortly, and if things proceed along, we're hoping to stay on the plan. If not, it would be the first Hrpb meeting in May.
A public comment? Nobody from the public. Any department reports?
Oh, well, yes, just so you know, we have hired a new preservation planner who started Monday. So it'll be a few weeks before he's off and running on his own, but that's going to definitely help as far as you know, staff having a little bit of relief. And we have our intern who we are going to hire for our new associate planner position. That is going to be put forward in the budget to the city commission. So if you'd like to speak out in support of that, we would appreciate it. She is graduating in May, and so will come on full time, and that will go as a budget item amendment. So she's wonderful, and we're looking forward to getting her trained up as a planner. So,
Aaron, will that make you fully staffed?
no. Still 2 more positions, Greg.
Minutes,
All right.
6:15 in the morning instead.
We're working. It's happening, but it takes time.
Any board
Yes,
member
it-
comments? I just have one
Mhm.
simple question, more procedural in nature. On Monday, April 11th, the commission is having a workshop on some items that are in there that typically we see. Is that the procedure? They're gonna have a workshop, then it would come before us, because those are LDRs that, if I'm understanding this correct.
Yeah, they would
Section 23
workshop,
That they'll be
right.
looking at with a lot of yellow.
So they would workshop those items and then provide direction to staff on LDRs that they would like to see or come back. And then staff would draft those LDRs and they would come back to you as the advisory board.
But just curiosity as well, now that you've explained that, so these were staff initiated items to then go to them to be workshopped, and I think you said to decide what they want to keep or amend.
Right. So there, the city commission had identified a list of issues that they wanted to see over time to address. And so staff has scheduled since for the last year, a series of workshops on a variety of issues. And so these are the next batch. And so they're going to review those items and determine if LDRs are warranted.
Thank you for that explanation. Anyone else? All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. Mark, second.